This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. A little night baseball down in Jupiter. Roger Dean Stadium is the scene, and it's the Houston Astros and the St. Louis Cardinals. With Brad Thompson, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Welcome to our St. Louis-based studios as we get you set for baseball tonight. And Brad, we're getting to that point of spring training. You want to see some of the regulars get a little bit more playing time in the lineup, and you want to see some improvement with the pitching staff, and we're starting to see that.
Yeah, we are for sure. You're knocking the cobwebs off a little bit, right? First time around the rotation for the Cardinals, it was rocky. Second time around, though, getting a lot better. You see Jack Flaherty went 4 innings last time out. He had thrown a B game in between, so technically his third start. Carlos Martinez leaps and bounds better than his first time out. Kim, his second inning, 11 pitches the other day against the Marlins. Adam Wainwright, he has been steady, and John Gant looking like a guy that might have an inside track on that 5th spot.
Inside track in left field, maybe so. He's in the lineup tonight, batting 7th, and that's Tyler O'Neill.
Well, I'll tell you what, you look at the numbers that he's putting up this spring. We've talked a lot about the opportunities that are out there for individuals, and certainly Tyler O'Neill is one of those. Big 3-run bomb the other way. Last time out against the Astros, he's done a great job of taking these opportunities.
Always a treat to watch old Uncle Charlie, and he'll go tonight for the St. Louis Cardinals. Adam Wainwright is on the mound. Starting lineups, first pitch next. Beautiful night at Roger Dean Stadium, spring training home of the Cardinals with Brad Thompson. I'm Dan McLaughlin. It is 74 degrees with the sun setting behind home plate in a rare night game in Jupiter, Florida, as the St. Louis Cardinals play host to the Houston Astros. And there's a look at John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations, and you know, just at this point, about midway through camp, you're getting some ideas of the storylines of this camp, and one of them that's developing is what's going to happen with the starting staff. And right now, you've got Adam Wainwright firmly cemented in that staff, but you're wondering a little bit about maybe 4 and 5.
Yeah, it could be some moving pieces, certainly, Dan. Carlos Martinez with the Miles Michaelis situation, he ramps up a little bit. But Adam Wainwright, boy, as he hit the ground running here in 2021. 2 starts, you see 5 innings. The one hit, too, was Jose Altuve. It was wind-aided on Sunday, but he has had command of absolutely everything, and he has been spot on so far. If you're looking for a way to start spring training, man, that's what Adam's doing.
The Cardinals come into play at 2-4-3. The Astros at 2-6-2. And Adam Wainwright making his 3rd start of the spring. Last year, in 10 starts, you could make a case, Brad, that he was the MVP of the 2020 Cardinals.
Well, he was Mr. Reliable, and he has been his entire career. But last year, in such a weird season in so many ways, there was need multiple times for somebody to step up, and Adam Wainwright continued to answer the bell. I know that throughout the year, there will be plenty of talk from us and from national baseball people about Adam Wainwright, 39 years old. How's he still doing it? Because he prepares to do it. I mean, this guy wants to be out there, wants to pitch deep into every single ball game, and they're going to need him. They're going to need innings this year out of the rotation, and that guy's going to give it to him.
Dusty Baker, his lineup tonight. Miles Straw, speedster, then Altuve and Brantley. Carlos Correa, big storyline with him, free agent to be. Will he stay with the Astros? Then Tucker, Gurriel, Garcia, Stubbs, and the designated hitter is Ronnie Dawson. We were wondering, would the at least National League teams in the spring training games, would they be using the DH? And this may be one of the final games that we see the DH implemented in spring training. The pitchers got to start to hit.
They do, for sure. We heard earlier in the week, Mike Shildt said that today would be a day that Adam Wainwright would be swinging the bat. We did see before the game, obviously, a DH in the ball game. Matt Carpenter, the designated hitter for the Cardinals today. But you're right, you got to start rolling at some point. Got to start using those muscles again.
So here is Miles Straw, the speedy outfielder. In his career, a 246 hitter in the major leagues, and he's had a good spring this far, batting .438. Chopped high, left side, Arenado quickly to first and makes the play. He does so with ease. So 1 pitch and 1 away. Arenado at third with DeYoung and Edman and Goldschmidt along the infield. Outfield in center, Harrison Bader. O'Neill in left, Carlson in center. Yadier Molina is behind the plate. One of the problems with the Cardinals pitching, especially the first couple of times through, a lot of walks. The Cardinals were last in WHIP, walks, hits, and innings pitched, and in the bottom third in ERA. But when you look at those guys that they have along their infield, throw strikes. And that's whacked out to left by Jose Altuve. And Altuve will trot into second base with a one-out double. So 2 pitches in this game, and both have been put into play.
Yeah, Jose Altuve not waiting around to see Uncle Charlie. Doesn't want to see the cutter, the slider, the changeup, none of that. He sees a fastball up here and just middle. Adam obviously trying to get that ball down a little bit. It was Altuve that got things going on Sunday against Adam with the wind-aided triple the other way, but he gets into that one.
And I think you would agree with that assessment. You have this type of defense. Don't walk anybody.
Yeah, pound strikes. Yeah. And I understand that baseball has changed a little bit, and we see everybody throwing the kitchen sink early on. Look, if you throw well-located fastballs down, get some ground balls, you got the defense behind you to get it done.
So here is Michael Brantley. It's been a 4-time All-Star. He had 4 seasons in the Brewers minor league system and then was acquired by Cleveland. He was the player to be named later in the trade that sent CC Sabathia to Milwaukee as he pitched the Brewers into the playoffs in 2008. Then signed with the Yankees on his way to 3,000-plus strikeouts in his what could be Hall of Fame career. And Michael Brantley, the player to be named later, and he's had a very fine career himself.
Pretty
now
good player to be named later, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Pretty good addition to a deal. And another huge pickup for this team. You look at the Astros offense, top to bottom, they're solid. But losing George Springer and Brantley would have been a bit much for them. So they pony up, give him the 2-year deal, and probably a good decision for them.
This spring batting .273. Curveball, a beauty. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
You know, you don't love to see any of your pitchers give up hits, doubles. But honestly, Adam Wainwright really hasn't been tested too much this spring. You get a runner on second. He has to bear down early in a count. Kind of like to see him have to go to the arsenal here.
We've seen to the point that some of these pitchers, they get into trouble, especially starters early, and they roll over the inning. I'm not sure I like that. I understand why you do it, to protect the pitcher, get him out of there, let him start an inning clean. But there is something about getting out of trouble, especially for young pitchers. You learn that in games like this.
Yeah, well, there's multiple facets about it that I don't love, and I'm right there with you. I do understand it, specifically the first couple of weeks. But there are a lot of teams that can be made. Nice pitch right there. Get the breaking ball in, showed him the fastball up, got him to swing over the curveball. Waino's first strikeout of the day. But there are facets of it. I look at some of those situations as being a guy that had to come into some jams and get out of them. That's where a job is made. Look at that thing. I know at home sometimes you wonder on a pitch like that to Brantley, how do you swing at that? That ball's in the dirt. Well, it just tells you how much that thing is dropping, how it looks like a strike, and it looks like a heater coming out of his hands.
There's Carlos Correa, mentioned earlier, a free agent to be. And he's made it known that he wants a deal in spring training. If not, he does not want to negotiate a contract in season. And it's a massive potential shortstop free agent class that he's right in the middle of. .333 the average here in spring. No home runs. He's driven in 2. Altuve, the runner at second base. That pitch in the dirt. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
The shortstop that might actually end up setting that market for everybody, Francisco Lindor, he said the same thing. He said he's happy to negotiate during spring training, but after that, it's go time. So it does put a little pressure on each organization to try to get something done. Either way, these guys are going to be good to go. Francisco Lindor is going to make a ton of money. Correa has been so good, but he's had some injuries the last couple of years. He looks really healthy now, though.
And the 1-1 pitch now to Correa. I'm curious your thoughts on this after the cheating scandal. Do you think that some teams will stay away from some of these players that were involved in that because were their numbers aided by that? Or is that too far?
You know what? I think that you have to take everything into account when you're signing a player to a monster deal, and you're going to look at the last couple of years since it. I think to a certain extent it might be held against, but not enough to stay away from the player.
And a fly ball into shallow Right center field, there's Bader. Makes the catch. Altuve the double, left stranded there. Coming up for the Cardinals, the top of their lineup, that includes Nolan Arenado batting third. And this could be what you might see on an opening day. Tommy Edman, Paul DeYoung, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, Matt Carpenter, the designated hitter, Yadier Molina, Tyler O'Neill, Dylan Carlson, and Harrison Bader. Let's take a look at Brad's Toyota key to the game.
Dan, it's go time. I mean, everybody's got over a dozen at bats. Your regulars, you've seen pitches. You're kind of working out some of the kinks, but now is where you like to see that next step. Offensively, certainly pitching as well. But this offense, we know that there is a lot of potential there, but it's go time to kind of get where it needs to be.
And the first pitch by Emmanuel is ripped foul. And in the seats, Kent Emanuel. We have seen him. He made the previous start that we televised, and he looked very good. He's 35-25, and all those games, those wins and losses have come in the minor leagues. Good spring for Tommy, batting .429. And the breaking pitch drops in for a strike, 0-2.
I like to see Tommy, though, that first pitch of the game, just ready to jump on stuff. I'd like to see the Cardinals this year. Fastballs in the zone. Let it fly.
Had him out in front, and it's popped up. Correa under it, and there's one away. Defensively, the Houston Astros, Bradley in left, Straw in center, and Tucker is in right. Garcia, Correa, Altuve, Gurriel along the infield, and Garrett Stubbs is the catcher. Here's Paul DeYoung, 143 his average this spring. No homers, no runs batted in. He's the kind of guy, and we've talked about this a lot, he's streaky. And all of a sudden, a week later, you could look up and he's got 3 home runs. He's driven in 6, and his entire spring looks a lot different. Drives that out to center, but right at Straw. 2 away. Nolan Arenado. Mike Shildt has tinkered with the lineup a little bit this last week in terms of Arenado batting second. So he's moved him up, and Goldschmidt third. May see that at times during the regular season, but the bottom line, you're going to see back-to-back, one way or another, flip-flop them, it doesn't matter, but Arenado and Goldschmidt.
Yeah, I can tell you this, from a pitcher's perspective, I don't care which way you put them. I'm not excited about seeing either one of them.
Nolan hitting .267 this spring.
I'm sure that Nolan at this point, too, spending as much time as he did with the Rockies, still kind of trying to feel things out in spring training, learning all the routines. Now, routines are a lot different with all the COVID protocols, but by all accounts and every teammate of his you talk to, and then when you get the opportunity to talk to Nolan, he seems happy as could be. The guys love having him around. Just kind of feel like he's been there for a lot longer than a couple of weeks.
Games we've done on 0-2, he's gone to right. Very good to see that early in a camp where a player, sometimes they get anxious or they're off balance, trying to get their timing back, keeping their hands back and able to drive the ball the other way. And he's been able to do that a couple of times. And the 1-2 pitch pulls it foul. In talking with people down at camp, they say, and I've asked him, I said, well, tell me about his defense. You know, we hear about the spectacular plays, and they say, well, it's the routine plays. And he made one in the first where guys, very good major league players, they would be close plays. He makes them look routine. And they're routine for him, but not for others. You can see he was trying to go the other way there. Hit to Altuve, and the Cardinals go 1-2-3. Beautiful night. Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. And there's no score. This later in our telecast, the Cat. Always great to have Jim a part of our games. Jim Hayes, a 2-part interview with Nolan Arenado. It's our Budweiser What's on Tap. And Nolan, by all accounts, everything has been perfect on both sides. From the club's perspective, from his perspective of being in St. Louis down at camp, They say he is, and you've heard this term, a baseball rat. He's fit in perfectly with the Cardinals. And from our perspective of being in the media, he's terrific with the media. So looking forward to that visit with Nolan Arenado and get to know the Cardinal third baseman a little bit better.
That's going to be great.
Yeah.
It is going to be good. And that's the thing. He is so open and enjoys, or at least he does a very good job of acting like he enjoys talking to the media. He was so gracious with his time when he first came over.
Kyle Tucker with a high fly ball into right. Dylan Carlson, just enough room, puts it away for the out. And that's the first out here in the second.
Tell you what, that's Jupiter, Florida for you, because the game that we were doing Sunday, which was basically this game, same starting pitchers, that thing is off the building in right field. The wind was blowing out, howling.
Yeah, John Mozeliak would add a souvenir. That's where he was positioned earlier today. That's the Cardinal offices, and then in left, it's the Miami Marlins offices as they share this complex. Yuli Gurriel, curveball, check swing, and Yuli is having a tough spring. 091. Hit out to right. Carlson, another chance. Puts it away for out number 2. Stream every regular season game live or on demand with MLB.tv online on your favorite supported devices, as well as select spring training games. Blackouts and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. And the Wainwrights are in the house. That's a busy family, I can tell you that. 5 kids.
Yeah, Jenny's got her hands full. I know Adam does a lot when he's around, but Adam's working a lot. I mean, long days. That's one great family.
Robel Garcia, switch hitter, third baseman. Off-speed pitch. Change-up that time by Adam Wainwright. 1-2. Garcia, 27 years of age, out of the Dominican. And the 1-2 pitch. What do you think of these night games down in Jupiter? This is a rarity at Roger Dean. Now at the ballpark at the Palm Beaches, they play a lot of night games, but not a lot at Roger Dean.
Yeah, well, I enjoy them from this perspective, right? We're calling the games. I don't know if the players like them as much because it throws off your schedule a little bit. You're still waking up at 6 in the morning and you're still going out there doing your thing, but it's all about getting the work in, and so far so good for Adam Wainwright.
That's now 5 in a row set down by Waino, his second strikeout. We're midway through 2, and there's no score. All is brought to you by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. By Shelter Insurance. For your auto, home, and life. We're your shield. We're your shelter. And by Ford, the official car and truck of the St. Louis Cardinals. Along with Brad Thompson, I'm Dan McLaughlin. We're in our Fox Sports Midwest studios here in St. Louis. Paul Goldschmidt at the plate. And it's 1 ball, 1 strike in the home half of the second, and there's no score. Goldschmidt, Carpenter, and Molina. Paul is batting 154 this spring. We would see at times last year some shifts for Goldschmidt. No shift here. Now they are off the bag at first, but that's about as pronounced this shift is. Just playing off the bag. And a gap actually in left center. The 1-2. Taken high.
That's the thing about a guy like Goldschmidt, too. You got to be careful how much you shade or shift him because he has such good control. He can kind of take the ball wherever he really wants to.
2-2. Late swing and a strikeout. First strikeout for Kent Emanuel. Graduated from Woodstock High School in Georgia back in 2010. Selected by Pittsburgh, 19th round in 2010. Did not sign and went to the University of North Carolina. Was a heck of a college pitcher.
It's amazing. You had the numbers up earlier, the minor league career, that he hasn't got a chance yet. Now, he is in the middle of a 80-game suspension, violation of the joint drug policy. So, going to have to get through that first. But he's been very impressive in the couple of games we've seen him.
Here's Matt Carpenter. Carpenter so far hitless this spring. He's 0 for 13. Two balls and no strikes.
Well, you'd like to see Matt Carpenter just get kind of paid off for some of the good swings that he's put on. He had early in camp a couple of hard hit balls that just at guys. He's worked some walks, but I don't care if you're a young player or a veteran player. You need some of them to fall to kind of get that confidence going.
2-1 the count. Isn't that the truth? You got to get that first one under your belt.
Yeah, I mean, I know it seems stupid. He's got so many hits in his career. He's had so many great things happening. But, I mean, he understands the situation.
And sometimes that's the hit that gets you going. Little check swing, excuse me, and you find a base hit, and the pressure is off, and don't look back.
Yeah, you could see it at this point because you know the competitor that Matt is, and you know how bad he wants it, but you also understand he's been doing this a long time. You can see him get a hit. I almost guarantee he'll stand on first base and ask for the ball.
Yeah. The 2-2. Hit to the right side on a hop into the shift. And that is out number 2. Yadier Molina. Exchanging pleasantries with Garrett Stubbs. You know, Yadi's got the great respect to so many in the game of baseball, and especially those that are behind the plate. Served into right center for a base hit. This has gone viral. For fans that haven't seen it, here it is. Siri at first base, the runner, pinch runner, young player trying to make an impression. He says, no, you didn't get me. Yadi says, all right, well, go ahead and take second. Go ahead and try. That's a changeup, and bye-bye. You want to test me? Good luck. Awesome.
I love that so much. There were some good moments in that game overall. Adam Wainwright threw the ball really well. Cardinals bullpen did a good job. That by far was like the moment of spring.
Totally agree. Here's Tyler O'Neill, who homered in that game as he went opposite field. Last year in 50 games, popped 7 home runs. He's driven in 6 this spring with 1 home run and batting .333.
Well, you know, coming into camp, O'Neill was the guy that looked to have the advantage in left field. Been taking advantage of it.
Slowly hit across the diamond, and the Cardinals will strand a runner. So we move to the 3rd. Adam Wainwright back to work in a scoreless game. Spring training 50-50 raffle is open now through March 29th, and you can try your luck at winning some cash, all while supporting kids in our community. All you have to do is visit cardinals.com/5050 to purchase tickets. Visit cardinals.com/5050 today. 3rd inning rolls in. And for the Houston Astros, it's Garrett Stubbs, Ronnie Dawson, and Miles Straw. Only hit thus far for the Astros, a double by Altuve, second batter of the game. Ground ball, 1 pitch, 1 out. You watch Adam Wainwright, it's not only is he having success, but he's doing it efficiently in these games too.
Yeah, there are times when you watch him, honestly, and he makes it look too easy. But right there, he spots up a fastball, has it exactly where you want. That's the thing is when you, and Adam talks about this a lot, he'll get his strikeouts, but they're just a product of him attacking. Once he gets the 2 strikes, he can bury you, but he's trying to get you out with each pitch.
Breaking pitch. Taken low by Ronnie Dawson. Designated hitter tonight, batting .125. Best wishes go out to our good friend Smokey Joe Cunningham. We have Cunningham's Corner at the ballpark, and Joe has been involved with the Cardinals for many years. And Joe feeling just a bit under the weather, so he's watching our game tonight. And we're thinking about you, Joe. Hope to see you at the ballpark soon. The 2-0 pitch. 2-1. The Cardinals have 4 off days in the month of April, and they're bunched together especially early on. And we've talked about the fact that you have a truncated season, not many innings last year, now a full 162 for these pitchers. We'll see how Mike Maddox and Mike Schilt want to play those off days. If you have maybe a pseudo 6-man, you want to call it a piggyback, you want to call them spot starts, whatever, but how they handle the pitching staff going forward.
Dan, you ever seen that movie, A Beautiful Mind?
Yes.
Where, you know, Russell Crowe, he's got all the stuff writing all over the wall. I mean, there's just equations everywhere. I got a feeling that's what Mike Maddox, his office looks like. He and Schilte and Brian Eversgerd, the entire crew over there trying to navigate this, because you plan for, you know, you prepare for the worst, you hope for the best, and you try to piece it all together. But you're right, it's not going to be the easiest road to get through 162.
And strike 2, Miles Straub.
Well, we spend a lot of time too, Dan, when we're talking about this and the innings and the lack thereof. We talk about the starters a lot. All right, nobody went 200 innings last year. Obviously, I think the leader threw like 70. You know, I believe it was Lance Lynn. But who's gonna fill that void? Well, it's going to be the guys in the bullpen. So how are you going to keep those guys healthy as well? How are you going to stagger that? And that's where I think the Cardinals have a significant advantage in having multiple relievers that can give you multiple innings, where you can give them a couple of days off. Like, I think that there's a lot of different guys that you can piece together for the season.
Straw grounded out his first time up. Tough to turn 2, but they're going to do it. Had to be hard hit, and they get it, even with the runners started. And with one of the fastest guys in baseball at the plate. It's a double play to end the top of the 3rd. Wong, a 2-time Gold Glover at second, but not far behind is this guy, and that's Tommy Edman.
You want to see these turns, right? You want to see them in game action in spring training. I know these two have worked together plenty over the last year plus, certainly a lot this spring. But you like to see, because everybody wants a feed in a different way. Everybody gets the bag a little bit differently. So to be able to see these game live reps are important for this too, for these two. And look, the double play combo of DeYoung and Colton Wong was special, but Tommy Edman is going to be great over there. I mean, he's a raw athlete, moves really well. The first step is quick, solid hands, good arm. I mean, he's got everything you want.
Dylan Carlson at the plate. Then we'll see Bader and the aforementioned Tommy Edman. But you're right, it's about the comfort level of those two up the middle, and they know each other so well. Outside, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. And even during the shutdown when COVID hit and baseball was shut down, it was Colton Wong and Paul DeYoung that were working out in St. Louis at St. Louis University, that baseball facility. And it was a year ago today that we were at Roger Dean Stadium, and I think we were the last major professional sport that played, because the night before, a year ago yesterday, it was Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID, and the NBA shut down. MLB played the next day, and we were the final game. I mean, it was an eerie game that day at Roger Dean.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
It was weird.
And I'm sure, like a lot of our viewers right now, I remember watching that, and I remember almost thinking to myself, what's going on here?
Oh, it was odd. Carlson retired, and that's the first out. And I mean this sincerely. I thank the players and commend them for coming back and playing in the 60 games that they did. And now in retrospect, it's amazing they got through the 60-game season after we saw what happened with the Cardinals, the Marlins, other players. But they got through it. They made it happen, and now we're going to have a full 162.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic. And maybe there's more for them. There's still plenty of protocols, and there's a lot of hoops to jump through. I mean, every single day you have to go through an intake process just getting into the facility. But they went through it last year. You learned from it, and you're absolutely right, man. There were so many sacrifices from the players, the staff, the coaches, all the trainers, clubhouse. I mean, just to get the product out there across the game, you know, hats off to everybody involved.
Bader shoots one into right center, and that's a base hit. So the Cardinals, first time through, 2 hits, and I love watching Harrison Bader against that left-handed pitching.
I love seeing him take it that way as well. Nothing, you know, not getting pull happy at all. He sees the ball out there and ends up serving it that way. Good fastball. It's down and away. The location is not bad, and Harrison does a really good job of keeping the head down and swinging it right there. And we talked about Harrison Bader potentially as an option for leadoff. Tommy Edman doing a really good job so far, but against the lefty, you got yourself another option there, don't you?
Absolutely. I would also love to see the Cardinals get back to where they were running 2 years ago. And if they drop off in their lineup, and it's natural to think that when you have Arenado and Goldschmidt, and if others don't step up, you're going to have to generate offense. That helps too. Base hit to left, Tommy Edman, and here we go. Paul DeJong coming up with 2 runners on.
I would agree with you, though, from a base running standpoint. When 2 years ago, Schulte was very aggressive. It wasn't just the stolen bases. That was impressive. 116 of them tied with the Nationals. But it was, I mean, first to third, they're scoring and stuff. The Cardinals do such a good job of just attention to detail, right? Knowing where your outfielders are, the scouting reports of everybody's arms, and they took full advantage of that. Last year, they never really got a chance to catch any traction on that standpoint.
So 1 out, 2 on. Check swing by DeJong, and he held up for ball 1. Lined out to center his first time up.
Well, you mentioned the streakiness that can be there for Paul DeJong, and you can't look up, and he's got a handful of homers, but he's looking for that consistency this year. I mean, he's a guy that I look at that could be a real linchpin in this lineup. Yes, we're looking at 2-3 or 3-4 with Arenado and Goldie, but this guy, man, he can lengthen the lineup so much.
Do you like him in the 5? So let's just say Arenado is 3, Goldie's 4. Do you like DeJong 5? Is the protection there?
Yeah, as long as he's being consistent, right? I think that he fits there. 5-6 is good, but I also think where he's at right here, like in the 2-hole, you're going to be fed a lot more pitches than, you know, with Arenado and Goldie behind you. That's why I think that this spot in the lineup actually is really intriguing, who sticks there, or if that's going to be a moving target as well, you know, who ends up hitting in the 2-hole.
2 balls and 1 strike. If you're Mike Schilt, you can't draw it up any better in terms of speed on the bases with what you have here. Tommy Edman at first, and Gurriel is playing well off the line, so Edman can get a big lead at first base. Ball in the gap, he can score, and you've got great speed at second with Harrison Bader. The 2-1 pitch, inside, 3-1. Now, if you're Paul DeJong, you got to think about this. You're 3-1 with Nolan Arenado on deck. It's got to be a perfect pitch, and when it is there, you go hammering here.
I'm unleashing the fury.
Absolutely.
Fury on a fastball in the zone here.
You bet. That's the beauty of having the 2 guys hitting behind you here. The 3-1 pitch. And DeJong hits a ground ball. Out at second, and no throw by Altuve. Edman, a clean slide into second. So runners at first and third. The force play at second. Want to remind you, the Nationals and the Cardinals Grapefruit League action will be Monday. Our next televised game presented by Mid-America Chevy. And that'll be Monday, Fox Sports Midwest at noon. Nationals and the Cardinals. Nolan Arenado grounded out to second softly his first time up. 2 outs and 2 on. Outfield straight away, and they are deep. Room on the right side. DeYoung back safely. One of the new proposals in the minor leagues, as they're going to try some different things at different levels of the minor leagues, but that'll be one of them where a pitcher has to step off on the move to pick off. So if you were a fan of the Andy Pettitte move in certain portions of the minor leagues like that, you can't do that anymore.
I got to be honest, I'm not sure how I feel about that one and maybe some other rules that they're throwing out there. I'm sure we'll get into a bunch of them, but it is really interesting. The hang, I mean, you would have to totally disengage. So Emmanuel would have to step back and then do the quick throw over. But they're trying to boost offense, trying to boost running games. We were just talking about how exciting the stolen base can be and how the Cardinals utilized it a couple of years ago. And a few of the rules are trying to do stuff like that. There's another rule that's going to be implemented at AAA where the bases, instead of being a 15-inch square, are going to be an 18-inch square. So you think about it, seems small, but baseball's a game of inches, right?
Bang plays.
That's it. That's the difference between a ground out. You get to first base faster. A stolen base, you get to second quicker.
Quick pitch. That slide step to the plate. Lou Brock told me one time, he said it was easier for him to steal off of lefties than it was righties. And he said you don't watch the right leg, you watch the left foot. And he watched the toe. I said, Lou, what do you mean? And he said if you saw the toe come up, so a pitcher would have to, and there it is, so you would have to, in that back foot, if you're going to throw over to get something on that throw, you almost have to throw off your back foot, you know, to get something on it, on your heel of your back foot, just to get a little throw, to get a little mustard on it. He said, now, if you're throwing to the plate, he said, you're kind of driving off the front portion of your foot, so you knew he was going to the plate. So if you watch that back foot, don't watch the front, but watch the back. And I found that incredibly interesting from the great base stealer, the late, great Lou Brock.
Yeah, reason that he stole as many bags as he did, right? There are certain things, and every pitcher has tendencies, and they do things different ways. The guy might, might set his hands differently or cross his leg differently when he's going, but there's physiological things that happen as well when a guy is making a pickoff move that you just can't get away from.
Now, one of those rules, and I'm not sure which level this was, you could only throw over twice. That was another one, too.
I hate that one. Out of all the rules, like that's one.
I didn't like that one either.
Well, because as soon as you throw over one time, like they kind of know you're not going again.
Exactly.
Just because for fear of not getting them in the third time.
Arenado. Diving stop. Correa gets up and robs Nolan Arenado. A diving stop to his left. Carlos Correa, what a play at short. And speaking of Nolan, the cat, Jim Hayes, part 1 of 2 tonight in a sit down with the new third baseman of the Cardinals, and that's coming up. Arenado, in this past week, Jimmy the Cat Hayes had a chance to visit with Nolan via Zoom.
Well, Nolan, I want to take you back to when you first get to spring training and you put on the Cardinals uniform for the first time. What was running through your mind when you put on the birds on the back?
Obviously an unbelievable feeling. A little weird at the first time I put the red on, just as far as I've always been on black and purple, but putting on the red was, and seeing the birds and the stitching, the stitching of the jersey is a lot different than the jersey I was used to wearing, and it was just, it's an amazing feeling. The historic, to put on the same uniform as Ozzie Smith, Albert Pujols, Scott Rowland, players like that, it's an unbelievable feeling.
And how has the feeling been at spring training? Like each team sort of has a different identity, a different feel to it. What has the feeling been like at spring training in terms of getting acquainted with some of your teammates and just the feel overall of the team and the way they go about it?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, everyone's working extremely hard. The way they go about it here is, it's different, but I love it. And, everyone works extremely hard. Everyone cares. They pay attention to the little things. And now I know why the Cardinals are always a tough team to beat.
When the trade happened in St. Louis, it was a big secret, and it seemingly came out of nowhere. But I was talking to some guys connected to the Rockies organization, and they were like, oh yeah, people around here know it's going to happen. How much of a heads up did you get that this thing was actually going to become a reality? Were you aware a little bit before the trade was announced, or a longer period? What was it like?
Well, I knew there was a chance. I wouldn't say I didn't know it was real until it was literally written in paper, confirmed that there's no chance I'm going back to Colorado. That's how I knew it was real. I didn't want to get ahead. And obviously I knew it started to get real when I had to go get my physical. That's when I knew that it was getting really close, because they wouldn't have, or that's when I knew it was basically done, is because they wouldn't have you get a physical if they didn't feel like they can get this deal done. So that part, I guess that's when I started to realize it's gonna happen.
And I know that there were some people saying if it's a deal to go to the Cardinals, it's a good thing. And one of them was Matt Holliday, who obviously played for the Rockies and you're friends with. Tell us about what he was telling you about becoming a Cardinal.
Yeah, well, he's made this transition a lot easier from the get-go, as far as he knows everything about this organization. He knows Colorado, so he knows what I was going through also. And yeah, I mean, he's just spoken great things about this place. And then, you know, obviously talking to him about the coaching and the players, and he said you'll love the atmosphere, you'll love St. Louis. It's a perfect place for you and all those things. Obviously, I have to experience it first, but so far he's been right on about everything. And then obviously it helps that Goldschmidt, who literally went through kind of the same thing I did, got traded to St. Louis, and you know, he did happen to him a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, so he's been helping me a lot also with how the transition also, so it's been really great, him and his family.
Goldschmidt told me that you guys had established a relationship playing together on other teams years ago, and you guys sort of bonded because you go about it the same way. Talk about your relationship with Paul.
Yeah, Paul, yeah, we do. We have a great relationship. Obviously, playing against him in Arizona, playing against him in rookie ball when we first got drafted, all those things, and playing with him on USA, a couple All-Star games together, and getting to know him, and someone that I admire, and someone I always try to keep in touch with about the game and little things like that. But yeah, we're similar in certain ways, but I call him the angel, and I'm the devil, though, because he's too nice, and then I'm kind of too real. So I'm like, I say the things that he doesn't want to say, but I know he's thinking the same thing. So I tell him, I'll be the devil, you could be the angel. It's all right.
So you're telling me that the Paul Goldschmidt, that's the really nice guy that we all know and Cardinal fans see, and they go, everyone says, he's a really nice guy. You're saying that that's actually true.
Yeah, Paul is he is a great dude. He is too great, but he has the same feelings we all have. Don't let him trick you.
Love it. That is good stuff. Jim Hayes with Nolan Arenado, and we'll have part two coming up later in our telecast. Jim Hayes sitting down or via Zoom there with Nolan, as Wainwright has gotten the first two here, Altuve and Brantley, and now it's Correa. Fun stuff.
It is. It seems like he's fitting in just fine, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Tommy Edman. 1, 2, 3. Go the Astros. We're midway through 4. Scoreless in Jupiter. Astros and Cardinals. Edward Jones is live now through April 17th. Cast your vote for your top deserving player for another great field of candidates. Visit cardinals.com/HOF. Steve Carlton, Keith Hernandez, Matt Morris, Edgar Renteria, or Lee Smith. Spoke to Lee Smith today, and he said it was such a privilege to wear the Cardinal uniform because where he's from, he said, my grandpa would listen to all the games. So I was just a huge Cardinal fan. He said, my favorite manager I ever played for, and he played on historic teams, franchises all over the place, long career before being inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame. But he said my grandpa loved the Cardinals. So I grew up a Cardinal fan. I loved it too. So to wear that uniform and to play for Joe Torre was very special for him. And 2 days ago, I talked to Matt Morris, who's up in Montana.
See, out skiing all the time. I love Matty Mo.
He said he's been skiing like 100 days this year.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. Goldschmidt taps it slowly left side. It's gloved by Garcia. Low throw gets away down into the Cardinal bullpen. That's the catcher chasing that down, Stubbs. What a hustle play by Garrett Stubbs. You appreciate that.
Yeah, you don't usually see a guy get down the line like that. That far. Stubbs in college, He played some left field, second base, center field, all over the place. Made the transition to catcher. I know, I mean, a little undersized. You see skinny, you know, but strong guy. Obviously quick. Stuff like that, though, in spring training, right? I mean, you love to see.
And now Matt Carpenter grounded out to second his first time up. So that'll be an error on Robel Garcia, the third baseman. Another scoring opportunity here for the Cardinals. Had a golden opportunity back in the third with runners at first and second. And only one down, and DeYoung up. He grounded out, and then Arenado was robbed by Carlos Correa. There's strike one on Matt Carpenter. This is Joe Smith into the ball game. He came up with the Mets all the way back in 2007. We saw him in our last telecast, and he struck out the side. He was really good.
Just funky, right? In his 14th year overall. He opted out of last season in the pandemic-shortened season, but a veteran in that bullpen.
And Carpenter drives it out to deep center field. Straw is back. He'll make the catch. Tagging up Goldschmidt from second to third.
Well, you like to see that, Dan. We talked earlier about results, right? You just want to see one end up dropping, and obviously Carpenter would like to be able to get his first hit of spring. That ball's hammered right there. That ball is hit on the screws. You do the job, move the runner over to third. Obviously, if you're not playing in Florida in a different ballpark, that might fly a little bit differently as well.
You also like the base running there of Goldschmidt, immediately reading it off the bat to get back to the bag and tag up.
Big fundy. That's what he does.
Yep. So the infield is drawn in, and here's Yadier Molina, singled to center. His first time, and he's 1 for 1. We're scoreless here in the home half of the fourth. There's that slider, still slinging it up there.
Got that frisbee over there with the Astros. Also, they have Steve Cishek, who Cardinal fans know very well. He's on a minor league deal, looking to be a part of that bullpen. A couple of funky looks there from the right side.
And the 0-1. There it is again, and Yadi hits it out of play. You talk about how with a right-handed batter and a pitcher like Smith, front shoulder, and really almost trying to take it to right to make sure that you stay in on it, to follow it in, the baseball, and just put it in play, take it to right field.
It's so easy to see that slider coming in that kind of starts at your hip and want to open up a little bit.
Ground ball, left side, backhanded. It is a fair ball, and the tag was applied. Goldschmidt was back to the bag. Yadi is out, and there's 2 away. It's a good play down at third on a short hop by Garcia.
Yeah, heads up play, right? Throw the tag on just in case. You know you have plenty of time with Yadi running to make a strong throw afterwards. Let's see if Tyler O'Neill can get something going here with 2 outs.
Grounded out on a check swing to third, his first time up, 0 for 1. Joe Smith is pitched with the Mets, the Indians, the Angels, briefly with the Chicago Cubs. O'Neill, a drive, deep right, at the wall, gone! Opposite field home run. Tyler O'Neill, his second home run this spring. He now has driven in 8, and he's given the Cardinals a 2-0 lead.
Dan, you mentioned it a minute ago with right-handers against Joe Smith. You really got to keep the shoulder in. You got to stay on it. Tyler O'Neill stays on this thing and hammers it out the other way. We've seen a couple of home runs now off his bat, both of them that way. Love seeing him stay on pitches and try to think in the gaps. We know he's got raw power, and he can pull the ball a country mile. That is what you want to see.
Now, on the flip side, for a lefty, this would be advantageous for a guy like Dylan Carlson. Left-handed batter should see Smith fairly well. On a hop, base hit into shallow right. And Dylan is 1 for 2. Harrison Bader, base hit to center. Now, reversing the conversation, these are the tough at-bats for Harrison Bader.
Yeah, they are for sure, especially with the Frisbee slider. We've seen Harrison, though. We saw the first at-bat, the single the other way, staying on pitches better. I think he's done a better job this spring, too, of kind of simplifying things, seeing the ball, tracking it. These are the kind of at-bats you want to see from him in spring.
Ball one. The last full season for Joe Smith, 28 games. 1.80 ERA in 25 innings back in 2019.
Kids, you don't all have to throw 100. You might have to do something a little different.
Yep. I've talked to you about this, but when you were in college, you used to throw a little bit like this.
That's basically how I got drafted. It is sidearm just like that, had the Frisbee slider. I didn't even know what a sink or a two-seam was. I just gripped a four-seam, and it had natural run because I threw it from there. Good take right there under the zone.
And then he made a living with a two-seamer.
Yeah, it was amazing, right? Got to the Cardinals and got around actual pitching coaches, and I've told you this before. Sid Manji, who was a pitching coach with the Cardinals at the time, worked with me every single day, got my arm up a little bit, taught me the two-seam grip, and I remember the first time throwing in the bullpen saying, what is that?
Yeah.
I could do that all the time. That's fine. It's just, whoom, felt good.
3-1 pitch. And Bader puts it in the air to Correa at short. Oh, and he stays with it to make the catch. He's got it. He's showing everybody in a little smile. A smile for Tyler O'Neill. Goes the other way. Two-run homer is second of the spring. 2-0 St. Louis.
Altuve on a fastball down and away. Nice day of work for Adam Wainwright.
Look at the ERA from last season. I think that would surprise many. The ERA was just over 2 for Tyler Webb. And when the Cardinals came back from the COVID shutdown, they were out of arms. I mean, guys were dragging. And Tyler, you may remember, I think it was the first road trip, but he had to take one. It was just take one for the team, and the ERA jumped way up. And for a reliever, it takes time because of limited innings to get the ERA back down. But hey, by the end of the year, close to 2. And this guy, he's not overpowering, he's not flashy, but he gets the job done. Are there going to be bumps in the road? Every pitcher has that. But for the most part, he has been a really good pickup by John Mozeliak.
He's been incredibly reliable, and it's a guy that kind of bounced around for a few years. He was picked up off of waivers traded to the Brewers, picked up off of waivers from the Brewers to the Padres, and then finally, obviously, in 2018, the Cardinals picked him up. And you're right, when you watch him, it's not like he's not lighting up the radar gun. You don't watch any of his pitches and say, wow, how did that happen? But he does a good job of hiding the ball well, and there's a thing too, perceived velocity, right? He might be throwing upper 80s, low 90s, but it's coming in, and it looks a lot harder. You can just tell by the way that guys the guys are swinging it. You talk about hard hit percentages. I mean, he's up there high among some of the best in baseball of the less hard hit. Yeah, soft contact. Exit velocity is super low off of him.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Foul ball down the left field line. There's a look at Mike Maddox, 4th year as the Cardinals pitching coach. Cardinals got some good news just watching Jordan Hicks come out of a actual live session of throwing against the opposition. They've seen plenty of bullpens. There's been some live BPs against his teammates, but he pitched on the backfields against Washington and set him down 1-2-3. In one of our telecasts, he said he's been clocked at 102 on those backfields. So we're going to see Jordan Hicks right off the hopper here in very early portions of the season. The 2-2 and a swing and a miss and a strikeout for Webb to start the 5th.
Nice well-located fastball in there by Webb. I'm laughing about the 102 from Jordan Hicks because that's backfield's no adrenaline. Like that's just, all right, wake up out of bed and roll. And his teammates talk about him, the fact that it kind of looks effortless when he goes out there and does that.
Yuli Gurriel I think to your point, I remember when he was facing Odubel Herrera, who is the center fielder for the Phillies, and he hit 105, I believe, or 104, 106, whatever it was.
105, might have hit it twice.
And there was the motivation of seeing it on the gun. And Busch Stadium was oohing and ahhing, and people were picking that up. I mean, we were seeing it. You don't think he saw it? Of course he did. And there was that motivation there. And so you're exactly right to be on the backfields at, whatever it was, 10 o'clock in the morning and doing that and hitting 102. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's exciting. And I'm sure from the Cardinals standpoint, they're pumped up a little bit. But they also know they have to pull the reins on him, too, because he is coming back off of Tommy John. He did miss the entire season last year, so got to kind of limit the workload and be really honest with each other, the two sides. Jordan Hicks is going to have to let the club know how he's feeling after every outing. We'll see how they utilize him. But, boy, you got some real-deal weapons out in that bullpen. Hicks, Reyes, you talk about swing and miss stuff from the right side.
Mike Schilt talked about that, the journey back from Tommy John for Jordan Hicks.
Just happy he's got, he's checked off a lot of boxes. I don't exaggerate that too much because you go through a rehab process, and I've been on the rehab side of it on the minor league setting, coordinating camps that, we used to do our rehabs down here, and I've seen a lot of guys go through rehab, and I recognize that that's quite a journey. And so, he's getting to the tail end of that journey to his credit, and it's going to be most importantly rewarding for him to go out there and be able to face live hitters for the first time, as you mentioned, in approaching 2 years. So I'm just happy for him that he's been able to go about it the way he has, and the reward is in that journey that he's able to get back on the mound and start competing against major league hitters.
You would know better than I. I mean, players know they're going to come back from Tommy John for the most part, but there's always that what if in the back of your head. I mean, you're coming back from a surgery, a Tommy John, but then the monotony of dealing with just sitting around and waiting. That's the hard part, I think, the mental aspect for a lot of these players.
For me, Tommy John, it was way more of a mental grind than it was a physical grind. And there is that point when you're coming back and you're really starting to let it go a little bit, where you have to trust it, right? You have to trust that it worked and you're good to go. But he's gotten past that.
O'Neill back at the wall, and it's gone. It's a home run. Robel Garcia, his first of the spring. And it gets Houston on the board. Cuts a lead in half, and it's now 2-1. Solo home run, his first home run of the spring, his first run batted in.
You see Webb just trying to get in there, try to tie him up a little bit, just catches too much of the plate. Yeah, I think it's going to be fun talking about Jordan Hicks and Reyes and Giovanni Gallegos, who I believe we'll see in this ball game today. Just a lot of good options down there. And I don't know who's going to be the guy getting the nod first in the 9th inning, but I know you got options from the right side, from the left side, and mixing and matching is going to be a lot of fun for Mike Maddox and Mike Schilt.
2-0 with 2 outs and nobody on, and Garrett Stubbs. Strike at the knees, catches the bottom of the zone. And that's lifted to center field. Harrison Bader is there to make the catch. The home run hit by Garcia. Midway through 5, and it's 2-1. 21 season ticket plans are on sale now, and you can choose from full season, half season, 27 game options. If you'd like to sign up for those season tickets, visit cardinals.com/season today. Ryan Stanek. He is named after the Hall of Famer Ryne Sandberg of the Chicago Cubs, despite being born into a family of Cardinals fans. Upon his major league debut, he was just the third player named Ryan, R-Y-N-E, in Major League history. Sandberg and Ryan Duran, and now we have Ryan Stanek. So he's a. I gotta wonder about the Cardinal family.
That's
though,
interesting,
after Sandberg. I just wonder about that.
Look, I think that just tells you, okay, great players. It proceeds, you know, it goes further than your rooting interest. All right. If you see
I
something
could buy that
they must have respected Ryan Sandberg so much.
Definitely.
Even in that uniform, to name their child Ryan.
Strike to Tommy Edman. He's 1 for 2. Ryan Helsley is throwing in the Cardinals' pen. R-Y-A-N. On our telecast, we haven't had the chance to see Ryan Helsley yet, so we'll see him. Tommy rips it foul.
Not sure how I left Ryan Helsley out of the conversation a minute ago when we were talking about dominant arms from the right side. There's so many good options down there, and that's what I think you look at when you're trying to handicap the Central and where the advantages lie. The Cardinals pitching staff is so deep. Even with the Miles Michaelis, and Miles is going to be 7 to 10 days of no throwing. They're going to do some reevaluations, but he's certainly not going to be ready at the beginning of spring. Maybe you have to move a piece from your bullpen. Could possibly be John Gant. I mean, a lot of guys vying for that spot, but you're still deep in that bullpen.
Scheduled to appear potentially tonight, Giovanni Gallegos and Andrew Miller as well. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Edman goes down to get it, hits it sharply to first, and that's out number 1. It was announced this week, the Cardinals, in terms of how they're going to use Alex Reyes. It looks like it's going to be only Brad out of the bullpen. Do you like that?
Well, look, I wanted to see him get the opportunity to start, but I totally understand how they're utilizing him. They did say, and this isn't a magic number, this isn't set in stone, but they would like to be able to get him somewhere around 100 innings this season to kind of catapult him into a position where he could vie for a rotation spot the following year. And I think that you're going to find great ways to utilize him. I mean, it's going to be a bit of a bridge role potentially. We could still see him closing out ball games. You could see him in the 8th and the 9th. You could see him in the 7th and the 8th. So I think it's going to be interesting how they do it. The hard part, I think, is building in the rest in between. If you are going to have a guy going multiple innings, and you know the game is going to dictate that you're going to have a game where he goes 2 innings, then the next night it would be a game you'd love to be able to get him into, but maybe you won't be able to, and that's where kind of piecing things together gets difficult.
0-2 the count on Paul DeJong. He is 0 for 2 tonight. And he strikes out. Stanek has gotten the first 2. Alex Reyes has had a terrific camp so far. Taking a look at the hard-throwing right-hander, Alex Reyes, with 4 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, no walks.
What impresses me so much about Reyes this spring, and we saw it last year as well, is just how in control of his body he is. Like the mechanics look so ironed out. Everything looks so smooth. No max effort. It's good to see. And again, wherever the innings are going to come from, he is a net positive for this Cardinals team.
Nolan Arenado, 0 for 2, was robbed by Carlos Correa with 2 runners on back in the 3rd. You know, they talk, though, about Reyes getting to, if they can, 100 innings. I don't know how you do that out of a bullpen. Now, I think it's an arbitrary number. You don't have to get to 100 innings. I don't think you can out of a bullpen. It hasn't been done since Scott Proctor did it with the Yankees many years ago. And the year before that he did that, he was a starter. So it's very tough to do.
Yeah, it'll be, again, it'll be interesting how they do it, how we see him deployed. I don't think that we'll see much over 2 innings in that role. And look, they also have the option, although I'm sure they'd love to be able to roll with their same 5 or 6 throughout the season. But maybe you get to the halfway point or later in the season and realize that there's an opening potentially in the rotation for one reason or another, and you build him back up and you're able to get your innings that way. So there are options there, certainly.
2 balls and a strike on Nolan Arenado, looking for his first home run wearing that Cardinal uniform. Part 2 of his interview with Jim Hayes is coming up. The 2-1 pitch. 3 balls and 1 strike. And Brad is going to go out on a limb right now and say this will be the first home run that Nolan hits as a Cardinal.
You know what's really funny is I was just going to taunt you a little bit and say, well, are you calling it or not? You're still waiting on the first home run.
And he draws a walk. Now, if it would have been in the strike zone, that's over the wall.
I don't think there's any question, Dan.
Of course.
You saw that take.
No question. So the 2-out walk, we'll see if he stays in the game. His night may be through. And it will be. Edmundo Sosa will run for Nolan Arenado. So his night is through, and here's Paul Goldschmidt. Reached on an error, scored a run back in the 4th, and struck out looking. Sosa now your runner at first base. Wow, what a play here by Correa. On a hop over to first, and that is a tremendous play by Carlos Correa at short. Holy smokes. And it's not through for us, though, hearing from him as he had the chance to catch up via Zoom with Jim Hayes.
Playing with some of the guys you're playing with now, and the first guy that comes to mind is Yachty. We saw the other day that he waved a guy to go ahead and try to steal a base, then threw him out. Just your impressions of what you've seen from Yachty and what it's like playing with him.
Oh, I mean, just unbelievable work ethic. You know, I've said multiple times how he's like doing early work with the young catchers in the cage, blocking balls at like 7 in the morning, hitting early. Just incredible to see a man still doing it at that age. I mean, like I said, he pushes me to be better just because I'm watching him still do it at a high level. And if he's working that hard, then I should probably be doing the same thing. So it's just great to be around him. So smart about the game. And he's a great player. I mean, he's a great player. I mean, in my eyes, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But, you know, now I know why he is so good. And it's been quite a treat. And then obviously that game where he threw that guy out, I mean, just, you know, it was just awesome, man. I mean, it was a changeup down too. It wasn't like it was an easy throw out. I mean, it was a tough play, and he put the ball around the money. I mean, that's what the greats do.
You know, the game is opening up a little bit. You're playing in front of some fans now at spring training. You will be playing in front of a smaller crowd, a smaller capacity when the team comes home to St. Louis. You talked about it briefly, but you've played in front of Cardinal fans. Just your thought on what it means to be a Cardinal playing in St. Louis in front of those fans.
Well, it means a lot. I mean, it's just a great organization. The fans are incredible. I mean, even here in spring training, they've been great. You know, you have good bats. They start clapping for you. You know, because they're paying attention to those little things. It's just really cool to be a part of. I mean, I made a play yesterday. You know, I made a great play, and the guy beat it out. But you know, they still gave me a not standing O, but they gave me a nice little clap, like I got the guy out and he was safe. But you know, they just pay attention to little things, you know, and I love that about them. And you know, I can't wait to play in front of them.
When you came to the plate for your first at bat at spring training, it was a small crowd, but it sounded like a big one. They kind of showed you that they're really happy that you're a Cardinal.
Yeah, unbelievable feeling. Absolutely terrible at bat, so I wasn't happy about that part. But it was really cool to see them cheer for me. I wish I would have drove the run in, but no. I mean, obviously, just a great experience to go through that.
One of the things that you talked about is you're excited to be part of this ball club because there's always a chance to win it all when you're a St. Louis Cardinal. Just with the talent you see, what do you expect from this ball club, and what do you envision that this team is capable of this season? Yeah,
well, this is a good team. I mean, we have some really good arms, great defense. I know we got to hit and have that timely hitting, but I think we have that, and I think we'll continue to get better. But I really love this team. We have a great leader in Yadi and Waino, and I think those guys are going to help us a lot. And then obviously Jack is special, and offensively, I think we have really good pieces. We just got to click and do our thing. But like I said, I think we have all the ingredients to be a really good team. Now, we still got to go out there and do it, and that's the hardest part. So it's hard to really talk on it too much, but I feel very confident about this team and this group.
All right, Jimmy, thank you. Nolan Arenado, thank you very much. And Ronnie Dawson has just tied this game up with a solo home run. Dawson, his first of the spring, his second run batted in. He has a walk and a home run now, and he takes Ryan Helsley deep, and we're tied 2-2. Top of the lineup in Miles Straw. And then a little something extra on it from Ryan Helsley as we're tied here in the top of the sixth, 2 apiece.
Yeah, that at bat against Dawson, he got ahead. He had him 1-2, had a couple of breaking balls that he didn't bite on, got it to 3-2, and throwing strikes like he should, but I'm sure he's a little upset about that one.
Helsley, now 26 years of age, moved to the bullpen role for the 2019 season. Started 62 of his first 65 minor league games. That backs up for a ball inside.
We've talked about this with Ryan Helsley as well. You mentioned all the starts in the minor leagues, and he has talked about the last couple of years, the want to be able to start at this level.
That is past Edmundo Sosa, who took over for Arenado.
When you look at how valuable he can be out of the bullpen, how the stuff can play out of there, it's kind of one of those situations where you have success, right? And then all of a sudden the organization is saying, I know what you want, but this is what we're going to do. And he seemed fine coming into this season about just being in the pen, not fighting it out for that 5th starter job, because, look, there's a great living to be had down in that bullpen.
He is a hard thrower. 18 pitches of 100 miles per hour or better in 2019. That was 9th most in Major League Baseball. Topped out at 101.5. He did that twice. A member of the Cherokee tribe, Ryan Helsley. Here's Altuve. So the first 2 have reached visitors' half of this 6th inning. Solo home run by Ronnie Dawson. The single to left by Straw, who is a threat to steal.
Not the easiest guy to double up. You'd love to see Altuve reach, though, on a cutter.
Straw might be the fastest guy in baseball.
Well, that's the thing, right? Speed is great, but you have to get on, and that's been kind of the knock for Straw. And he is having a really nice spring so far. And that's going to be the question going forward: is can he be a guy for the Astros that sets the table? Can he figure out ways to get on? Because that's the conversation in Astros camp right now of who profiles the best as the leadoff hitter. Straw is your prototypical fast guy, will steal a lot of bags, but they're also tinkering with the idea of Correa being their leadoff hitter. George Springer obviously goes to Toronto, signs that big deal. Wasn't your prototypical leadoff guy, right? I mean, 30-plus home run power every single year. There are different ways to do it, certainly.
3-1. Straw is not running, and that pitch taken low. So 3 have come up, 3 have reached against Ryan Helsley. Runners at first and second, nobody down. Yadi out to visit. It's a brand new infield for the Cardinals. Nagowski is at first. Rondon took over at second base. Moroff is at short. And Sosa is at third. There's Michael Brantley. 0 for 2 tonight with a strikeout. Tapped one out in front of the plate and was thrown out by Yadier Molina. 0 for 2. And time is called. Well, if you're the shortstop or even the base runner at second, you can ask the umpire to move. You do have that prerogative to say, hey, take a step to your left or your right, or even in this case, the umpire has decided to move behind those two.
Yeah, say, give me a couple. I will say every umpire is different, and they are approached differently.
Yes, they are.
Maybe Joe West, you got to ask him a little differently than someone else.
How was your relationship with Joe West?
Well, it's not like I didn't pitch 20 years to have the best relationship with anybody necessarily, but I will never forget the first time I had Joe West behind the plate and throwing a pitch. I mean, look, it was middle, Dan. Like, it was a pitch that I would want.
Down the middle.
Right down the middle. And Joe West took his mask off, looked at me, and yelled, "Ball." And, like, waiting for a reaction. I was like, this league's going to suck. This is going to be tough. Is this how it goes? I don't have 100 in the pocket.
That's great.
You can't really you don't see that at all anymore, obviously, because we have the K zone. I mean, everybody knows right off the bat what's a strike, what's not. Umpires get graded, and like there's a lot that goes into it. But it's like anything else, right? When you first come into a league, there's the whole act like you've been here before. If you haven't, you're going to pay your dues. That was kind of one of them.
Yeah. Brandley lines it to Nagowski, and out at first. He gets Altuve. He is known for his glove. A fine defender, and he shows us why. John Nagowski turns that double play.
Talk about an inning changer right there, too, because, Ryan Helsley, he's been feeling for it a little bit. Another hard-hit baseball. Smart play, too, to go for Altuve instead of the bag. You knew that extra little bit was going to be the difference.
Talked to John a couple of weeks ago. He actually has dropped some weight, and the whole idea of dropping weight was to move to the outfield. Now, he played at Florida State, and he actually, Brad, has played some outfield, and he said, well, if you want to make this club, you look at one corner, that's taken, and the place that I play, that's taken. So if I'm going to make this team, it's going to be off the bench, filling in, maybe the outfield, and so he's trying to take some fly balls in the outfield and make a name for himself there, and he comes up with a terrific play. He's a very good defensive first baseman. Saw him make his major league debut last year.
Versatility is key, right? You
Yes.
got to be able to wear a lot of different hats, and you don't have to be a gold glover out in the outfield, but you got to be willing, you got to work, and Nagowski has no problem working. He wants to be a part of things, and talk about value. He's a guy that just all he does is get on base.
Yeah. And that is lined and caught it short. Moroff with the catch. Midway through 6, the home run hit by Dawson, tied at 2. And may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Our score in the bottom of the 6th, the Astros 2, the Cardinals 2. And with Brad Thompson, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Blake Taylor, last season, 22 games as he'll take over. The lefty out of Mission Viejo, California. Made his major league debut last year, appeared in 22 games, went 2-1 with a 2.18 ERA. So here's Matt Carpenter. His third plate appearance of the night. Grounded out to second, fly to center, 0 for 2.
Yeah, we've mentioned with the Astros some of the veteran guys in that bullpen. We saw Joe Smith, Ryan Presley, Cishek is around, but Blake Taylor, kind of one of those rookies that's showing some things off. I got some young guys, Paredes, Brooke Raley as well. Some young options down there.
2-2 our score. Tyler O'Neill with a 2-run homer back in the fourth. That made it 2-0 Cardinals. Astros have come back with 2. And the 2-0, now 3-0. And a ball gets away from the Cardinal bullpen. Krasinski was throwing down there, the lefty for St. Louis. Socially distant crowd again at Roger Dean Stadium. The 3-0 pitch to Carpenter.
Might be socially distanced, but it's nice to just hear a ballpark chatter, isn't it?
I totally agree.
Just something.
We'll have that on opening day in Cincinnati. 3-1 pitch. Now 3-2.
That's one Matt Carpenter would like to have back, kind of pull the trigger on a 3-1, get a fastball, really lay a swing on it. That was one thing last year, Dan. We had the opportunity. We were calling the home ball games from Busch Stadium, and it was neat to be there. But you miss a lot of the things, the fans obviously, but the smells of the ballpark, right? All the food cooking and all the different stuff. It's going to be fun to get back to that.
Absolutely. And a ball outside to Carpenter. There's Mike Shannon and John Rooney. Rick Horton will be part of our televised games as well. Tim Shannon there, I believe, in the background on the right. There's Yadier Molina. Andrew Miller now begins to throw in the Cardinals' pen as Yadi grounds it foul.
The crowd's sparse until Yadi comes up, huh?
They get into it.
They get a little bit louder.
Yadi is single back in inning number 2 to center field. He's also grounded out to third base. This would be a hit and run candidate. I mean, you try things in spring, even with Carpenter, who you don't want to run with, but maybe you think about it. Popped up, right side, and out of play.
Well, I like the idea. I like what you're thinking. The generating offense, right? We talked earlier in the game about Mike Schilt, specifically 2 years ago, being very, very aggressive on the base pass. And Yadi, before being 0-2 here, but great candidate, handles the bat as well as anybody else. If you're looking to hit and run, he's generally a guy that you trust.
Nothing in 2 the count. And the next to Molina. Foul back.
Let's go, Yadi!
Cardinals with 5 hits on the night, 2 runs. They've stranded 5. 1 error committed by Houston in this 2-2 game. Inside. This lefty was committed to play at the University of Hawaii. He was selected by the Pirates, though, in the second round of 2013. He was part of the Ike Davis deal. So he went to the Mets and pitched 6 years in the Mets system. And they finally added him to their 40-man roster. And then eventually was traded to the Astros. That was part of the Jake Marisnick deal to the Mets.
I'm just going back to the beginning in my head, Dan. I'm wondering if I'd rather get drafted in the second round by the Pirates or go to Hawaii.
Well, in 2013, was a little different Pirates team.
Well, look, I'm not even. This isn't specifically
Or you still just talking about living conditions?
Yeah, it's about Hawaii, just in general.
All right.
Just getting an opportunity to play there and be there. That sounds like a pretty good gig for a college kid.
I would say so.
I'm not sure I'd have fared very well in Hawaii, but.
Oh, you'd have been great.
I'd have been red. That's for sure.
Yes. The 2-2 pitch. Molina jumps on it and a drive out to deep left and goodbye. Home run, Yachty. The second 2-run homer for the Cardinals tonight, and they're back on top.
The fans at Roger Dean are loving that. Yachty just leans on this thing, gets every single bit of it. He knows it right off the bat, gets himself a fastball down in the zone, drops the head. We were talking about how well he handles the bat. Great guy to hit and run with. That's a super idea, fellas. Let's just hit home runs.
There you go. 4-2. What a cut there by Tyler O'Neill.
That's what I want to see him doing. Go ahead. If you see something that you think that you could put a charge into, do it.
O'Neill, a 2-run blast back in the 4th inning. .406 feet, the distance of the Molina home run. Lined into right, base hit, Tyler O'Neill. The 2-hit night for O'Neill.
2 hits, damn, both of them that way. The big home run, opposite field. This one, head stays down, shoulder stays in. Look at that, pull the hands in a little bit just to drive the ball that way.
And Brent Strom is out to talk to his young lefty, Blake Taylor. So while we have a moment, Cardinals Kids Club presented by Rawlings, the exclusive fan club for kids 13 and under. And membership includes a fleece blanket, wall sign, monthly virtual events, and that includes Brad's special guest Fred Bird and all players just for $33. And you can join us at cardinals.com/kidsclub. The switch hitter, Dylan Carlson. You were back at taping one of your great shows this past week.
I sure was. Look, I had a chance to catch up with Fred Bird a little bit the other day. He is more excited than all of us to have fans back in the stands.
I bet he is.
He was going a little crazy for a while. You saw it.
It was a tough year for him too.
Yeah,
No
a lot
fans.
going on.
Yeah,
He needs the people.
more than anybody.
Yep.
Nobody out and a runner at first base. Seth Martinez, right-handed pitcher, starting to throw in the pen for Houston. One ball and one strike.
I'm liking some of the big cuts we're seeing this inning, though. These are the ones, the innings where you get somebody on the ropes and you want to be able to keep it going, keep the line moving. Look at the Cardinals offense, the pieces that they have. They have the ability to do so. Yes, Arenado and Goldie are going to be a focus, but this has got a chance to be a deep lineup.
Try to turn 2, and they will. 5-4-3. So Carlson grounds into the double play. And it brings in Bader. Bader against the lefty. He is fly to center tonight and also popped out to short. And a fly ball, shallow right. Ooh, and the catch is made. Yadier Molina. First of the spring, 407 feet, a 2-run shot. Cardinals back on top. Thompson for the Cardinals tonight.
Well, we've talked about it. The Cardinals, their MO is going to be the same, pitching and defense defense has looked good. Nice double play here. Paul DeYoung, Tommy Edman turning it on one of the fastest guys in the league. Nagowski gets a line drive, heads up move by tagging Altuve, and more off on this one, soft liner. Defense has been stellar for the Cardinals so far.
Some changes now for the Cardinals, and Andrew Miller, the left-hander, is in. So again on the infield, Sosa at third, Moroff at short, Rondon is at second, Nagowski at first. And now in the outfield, Dean in left, Thomas in center, and Justin Williams is in right. You know, you think about the double play that was started by Paul DeYoung. He was in that really fine line of, do you underhand it or do you sidearm it, but you don't want to handcuff the second baseman with a hard throw. That was not an easy double play, and they had two good guys in terms of speed on the bases.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, runner was bearing down at second, so you know you had to get it there quickly. And again, this is where it goes to reps together, but there's a difference when you're taking reps on the backfield. And yes, they all count and they need to keep doing it. But games like this, like getting in live action against another team who is busting it to make sure you don't turn two, that's where you end up getting better, and we're seeing it pay dividends. I think that's going to be a really nice combo up the middle. We were so fortunate the last couple of years to watch Paul DeYoung and watch Colton Wong, but this one's going to be good as well.
Andrew Miller has thrown 2/3 of an inning so far this spring. Ooh, doesn't get the call.
See what, he already looks more in control than he did his first time out, and you would expect that, right? Each time out there you get better feel for it, but he battled himself last appearance, couple of walks, was really pulling off of his breaking ball.
Popped up. Tucker slams his bat. Nagowski calling for it and makes the catch. That's how we start play here in the 7th with the Cardinals leading 4-2.
Andrew Miller hung in there a little bit longer than he probably was feeling comfortable. It's like, oh, please, somebody get over here, get this ball. He's an athlete. I'm sure he'd have caught it, but Nagowski comes in and gets the job done.
Remember last time you said that?
The old, he's an athlete, he'll catch it?
Yeah.
Did he miss it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, the one time, right? 9 times.
I'm not taking away. They are athletes. I'm just saying maybe you jinxed it.
Athletes. Well, or maybe it was windy, Dan. I don't know why you just go right to the athlete. Sometimes I go to the environment.
It was at Wrigley.
Yeah, it was. And the lights, you know how the lights are there. Was it a day game?
It was a night game.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The lights come in from the side, from the stands. It's difficult.
There was no chance that he lost it in the lights.
Of course there was a chance. There's always a chance. And then the crosswind.
It was actually one of the rare non-windy days ever at Wrigley.
Well, look, that's deceiving as well. When you're playing for the wind and then it's not there. It's tougher than it looks.
I could just hear Tim McCarver. This is the big leagues. Gurriel out to left. Dean cuts it off. His throw into second base is not in time. And Yuli Gurriel with a one-out double.
He made that play closer than it should have been. That was a strong throw.
Pitch running at second base, number 28, Taylor Jones. Batting the third baseman, number 60, C.J. Hinojosa.
Cardinals have talked about being very cautious with Andrew Miller. Been around a long time, just easing him into spring training. They know what they got. I mean, just make sure he's ready to go on opening day.
Well, that's the thing. He knows, too. He knows what he needs. I mean, he could tell him after this one, say, hey, give me 2 more on the backfields or whatever it is. You trust the veteran pitcher that he's going to be ready come April 1st.
Hinojosa took over at third base a couple of innings ago, so he's at the plate. Jones is now the pinch runner at second base. It was Garcia that hit that solo home run. The fly ball, Williams over near the Cardinal bullpen and runs out of room. Nothing in 2 the count.
Good idea to pull up on that one by Williams. That's regular season. He's going into the stands. He's going for it. Oh,
ouch.
Nice.
And one of our bullpen catchers is saying, come on, man, you got to catch that.
Took it like a champ,
ouch.
though. All smiles.
Ouch. 0-2 pitch by Miller. Here she comes. Here we are in the 7th inning, and Yadier Molina is still in this ball game. Maybe by design to catch Andrew Miller.
Yeah, makes sense. You'd like to have these two working together.
Reaching for it, and this may drop. Sliding attempt by Thomas off his glove. Rolls back into the dirt of the infield. Jones advancing to third, and it's runners at the corners now with 1 down. Saw the other game in which we televised. He had 2 of those type of plays, and he came up with them. That's one I'm sure he'd love to have back.
Yeah, and he had to go a long way for this one. It looked like it's just kind of one of those balls in no man's land. If the glove flips over, he's able to get it there. Just clanks him off the heel.
Runners at the corners now with 1 out, top of the 7th. Check that second and third. And that's a base hit into right field. 1 run is in. Here comes another, but they're going to hold him up at third. It'll be a 4-3 ball game. Runners at the corners and still 1 down. So an RBI base hit.
Now pitch hitting for the Astros, number 90, Colin Barber.
Colin Barber will be the pinch hitter. This will be pitch number 17 for Miller. This will be one of those innings you go back and you say, well, ball in right, if you're in a major league ballpark, probably caught, very close to being caught. The ball in center probably should have been caught. Now it would have been a good catch, don't get me wrong, by Lane Thomas, but you're out of the inning then.
Yeah, well, you look too. Sometimes the results, it looks different right on paper. You see base hit. That's a shattered bat. You know, he executes
Another one,
a pitch.
yeah.
But again, with Miller, it's just about getting these reps, getting the work in. This is an at-bat, though. I mean, you like to see him against the lefties, be able to throw that breaking ball for strikes. Good one there. Now finish him off.
The 1-2 pitch. The slider. Outside and low to Barber. 2 balls and 2 strikes as we play here in the top of the 7th. Colin Barber at the plate. The 2-2. And he got him with that slider. First strikeout for Andrew Miller.
Well, this is what you want to see right here. The nice tight slider starts in off the plate, ends up away off the plate the other way. And once you're committed to that thing, there's no holding up.
Chas McCormick now back to the top of the lineup for Houston. Runners at first and third with 2 outs, and there's a strike. "22 pitches in this appearance and counting now for Andrew Miller. One ball and 1 strike.
You have to think this is potentially the last batter one way or another here for Andrew Miller. You don't want to get the pitch count up too high in an inning.
This should do it. Thomas over, and he'll make the catch. Let's stretch. 1-run game. Ball is brought to you by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. By Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters. And by the Hyundai Spring Update event going on now. Hurry in and get the upgrade you deserve. Jones stays in at first for the Astros. Zach Daniels takes over in right field. And Martinez is the new pitcher for Houston. Bottom of the 7th, and the Cardinals leading by the score of 4-3. Talking with Michael Gersh the other day, he said when you think of John Nogowski and Michael Gersh, the general manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, Max Moroff will lead it off. But he said Nogowski is an interesting guy because he's kind of like Jose Martinez. Don't really have a position at this point for him. Now he can play probably better defense than Martinez, but he's such a good pinch hitter. We'd love to find a spot for him potentially with this team. There's Moroff, who can play all over the diamond, and looks at a strike from Martinez.
Yeah, Nogowski is doing everything that he can to force their hand. Now, so far in spring training, the average hasn't been through the roof, but he's drawn the most walks on the entire club. And he is a bit of a unicorn in today's game. You look at a guy who has walked more than he struck out in his career. That doesn't happen. And there's a tremendous value in having a piece like that.
The changeup taken low, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Good fastball, and he struck him out. It is the oddity of someone that walks more than they strike out in today's game, and that's what John does.
It's just weird to see. It's a great thing to see. I love it. I love the patience up there because he's got a little bit of power as well. And look, I know that you and Jim Edmonds were talking about that during a broadcast. And then right after you said he's got a little bit of pop, he just went ahead and went Yahtzee to show you a little bit.
Giovanni Gallegos throwing in the pen. Hard not to pull for guys that spend so much time in the minor leagues and even have to go reinvent themselves in some way, heading down to independent baseball, which Nogowski had to do. Keeps a notebook, and he said guys like Paul Goldschmidt specifically have been incredible in terms of giving of their time to give advice on what they do, from nutrition to pregame rituals to what they were thinking in their at-bats here in spring training. And he keeps that notebook, he says, all the time.
They said he got about 6 pages from one conversation with Goldie, right? I mean, he's a sponge, and that's the beauty, too, of having teammates that are so helpful because, I mean, you're a team, you're a group, you want to help each other.
2-2 to center, and out number 2. Edmundo Sosa. Celebrated the birth of his first child earlier in camp and then came back to camp. He is out of options and could be a bench player for St. Louis. Known for his glove, that's for certain.
It's a good one. I remember last year, though, in spring training, before everything got shut down, he looked very confident with the stick as well.
And he grounds out, the third and final out here in the 7th inning. One-run game, spring training action on Fox Sports Midwest. Plays of the game, Adam Wainwright. Once again, Brad, very, very good tonight.
Well, Waino cruises through 4, and the Cardinals show off a little bit of power. O'Neill goes the other way for a 2-run bomb, and Yadier Molina gets himself a fastball and doesn't miss it. Nice to see flexing a little bit of power here as Giovanni Gallegos tries to take over here and keep this lead. And, hey, look, Danny, it's spring training, right? We don't care about wins and losses. Schilte cares about the win right now. Like, you got a 1-run lead and you got one of your guys to protect it.
Well, when you start getting towards, I would say right about now, latter stages of this week, he starts to manage a little bit differently too. And it's things like this. 1-run game, maybe this is your setup guy at points in time in a regular season, and that would be Giovanni Gallegos, or at other times he might be your closer. We've seen him in that role, and he's been very good. So Giovanni into the ball game. It's 4-3 in favor of St. Louis. Nova took over. A couple of innings ago on the infield for Houston. We're in the top of the 8th. 4-3 our score. Lost the helmet. 1 ball, 1 strike. There's that nasty pitch, cutter, slider, curve, whatever you want to call it, but it is a devastating pitch for Gallegos.
The funny thing is you called it 3 different things. It's because it acts like 3 different things. He shapes it differently in different counts. Like that one looked more like the curve ball. We see one that looks more like a true slider. I think that he calls it all a curve ball, but it's all nasty, that's for sure.
2-2. Acquired in 2018 from the Yankees with Chasen Shreve in exchange for Luke Voigt. Made his major league debut in 2017, and the 2-2 pitch.
I really enjoyed watching him make his Cardinals debut. Monterrey, Mexico, being home, had family there. I know that was a really special moment for him, and you and I, had the pleasure of being down there and just seeing the media around him and how happy they were for him to be there and be a part of the game. Yeah, it was really special.
In the dirt, 3-2. So since his debut in 2017, the batting average against is 196. That is 15th best in all of baseball. He has been awfully good. Giovanni Gallegos, I mentioned this earlier, it was March 12th, so a year ago today when baseball shut down. He literally got in his car and drove back to Mexico. Remember at that time, they were saying, okay, it's going to be a delay of a couple of weeks and we'll see where we're at. And then they started telling the players, do not come to the complex. You are not allowed inside the complex. You cannot work out. And then at that point, they started to disperse. And Giovanni hopped in his car and drove to Mexico from Jupiter, Florida.
Was it about 30 hours, something like that?
Yeah.
Whew.
Andre Scrub, a right-handed pitcher, getting loose for Houston, and that's lined into center for a base hit.
Yeah, that was one of the more difficult things for all of the guys is there was so much uncertainty. It was like, all right, well, you guys can't come to the facility anymore. We have to disperse. You guys have to go home. Stay ready, I guess. Do what you can, but don't go out. Like, don't be around anything. It was such an unsure time for everybody in the country, obviously, and certainly a way bigger than just baseball. But from that standpoint, very uncertain time for these guys.
Aledmys Diaz, the former Cardinal, strike one. And from a pitching perspective, and you did this at the highest level, Brad, and former world champion with the Cardinals, can you imagine, March 12th, you're getting hot, you're getting ready, you're getting, Waino's got 4 innings tonight. You're starting to build up. So you're about halfway through. You're going to make a couple more starts if you're a starter, maybe 3. And you're thinking, I'm well on my way to getting ready for opening day. And then they're telling you, well, we may or may not play. I mean, that is very tough as a pitcher in particular to stop and start and then try to fire it back up. And that's going to dovetail potentially into this season to see how arms respond over the course of 162. And that's when we talk about why this season you have to have depth in your rotation, your bullpen, your 40-man roster, more so now than ever because of what happened last year.
Yeah, you're right. The starting and stopping aspect of it, that can be very dangerous. And I think that around baseball, fortunate to not have more injuries. I mean, there were a couple here and there, but nothing too bad. But it's difficult to do because you crank everything up, you're ready to rock and roll, then they stop you. I mean, look, in a normal season, the All-Star break messes up enough pitchers, right? Just having just a couple of days off, you're not used to it, you're not throwing as much, you get off your routine a little bit. So it's difficult, and it's hard to even evaluate 2020, and I know that we have numbers, we have stats, but it's hard to even know what's real and what's not.
3-1 the count. Aledmys Diaz has carved out a nice role here with the Astros. They can put him at short. He's played third. He's at first base and now even playing the outfield. He took over in left field in this game, and he's done that quite a few times under Dusty Baker a year ago. Position player, it's a little bit different. Those guys seem to, especially for the really good ones, it's like they get 10 or 15 at bats and they say, let's go. I'm ready. But for the pitchers, it's about building up the arm strength.
Yeah, that part of it definitely is difficult. You know what, though? It was tough on a lot of hitters, too, because there are certain things that you just do during a normal season. Everybody has their routine. Everybody has their go-tos. Well, your routines are thrown out the window. Your go-tos are gone. So if you were a hitter who, in between at-bats, would love to just go to the video room and break something down and make an adjustment, well, that wasn't available last year. Like, that wasn't there. And that hurt a lot of veteran players. I know a lot of guys have spoke out about that. Javi Baez being one of them with the Cubs, just saying it just was difficult specifically for him to be able to not have that tool there. You have to adapt. You have to adjust. You have to be able to figure it out in front of you because everybody's dealing with the same thing. But it was different nonetheless. And that'll be a change that will happen. There will be video in the dugout. Still not able to congregate in the video room and sit in there, but in the dugout there will be, not real time, but video from the game. And the interesting part, and I'd like to be able to see this video, is it just has to be in a perspective where you're not seeing the signs as well. So I don't know how they're going to do that. but at least you'll be able to see your at-bats and make adjustments accordingly.
That was on the heels of all the different things that we learned about with Boston and with Houston, and they were just trying to eliminate any of those concerns for all teams around Major League Baseball. And as you mentioned, Javi Baez was saying, essentially, I was lost.
Yeah.
There were so many guys that had down years that normally you would never imagine having poor years. Javi Baez, Altuve. We saw it in the division with Christian Yelich.
Yep, stars, man. Yeah, stars that were just a little bit lost. So I'm excited for this season, a full 162, as normal as you could possibly get, and the hope is that throughout the season that the restrictions are lower and lower. It could just be baseball again.
Good pitch. Kessinger at the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike. 15 pitches thus far for Giovanni Gallegos. You can see Michael Gersh at the top portion of your screen, the Cardinals general manager. I asked him, and he's doing it right now. I said, what do you do? I said, I always see you taking notes in these games or writing down certain things. And he said, well, I go back to old school, which is I like to go to a ball game and keep score. He said, I'm one of those people that actually kept score as a kid, and as an adult, I do that to just keep myself in the game and follow along. And here's a 2-1 pitch to Kessinger. And that's lined out to left and a base hit. Bases will be loaded. But he said there might be something that happens in the game, and I keep notes, and I'll go to Ali Marmol, the Cardinals bench coach, and say, hey, what were you guys thinking in this spot? You know, tell me, not to say, hey,
what were you thinking in this spot? Yeah.
Not to be submissive and that kind of thing, you know, and hey, tell me exactly what you're in trouble. Just no, what were you guys thinking? Let's talk some baseball here. And here's what I was thinking. Why were you, not that things are wrong or right, but hey, here's what I'm thinking. This is what you guys were thinking. Okay, I'm interested in what your mind process was at that. And that to me, that's baseball, because when you sit at home as you're watching our game, you're doing what we're doing here. We're talking about the game, and that's being done at the highest levels.
When you think about from his perspective, too, knowing how your staff is thinking and how they like to utilize their players in certain situations, well, it helps you shape a roster, doesn't it? So when you're looking at pieces to add, or you're looking throughout your minor leagues, you can go back to some of those notes that you jot down and some of the situations that you ask questions about and learn about and say, all right, well, I think with all the data that I have here, I think this is a fit, you know?
Sure.
All the information that you can get and all the questions you can ask, I don't care what your role is, it's a good thing.
All loaded up and nobody out here in the top of the 8th. Cody Whitley is throwing in the Cardinals' pen. Zach Daniels is at the plate. And the 0-1 pitch to Daniels. Good pitch, nothing in 2. Ushel told Michael that you're going to have a horrendous tan line on your face. Well, you're wearing a mask.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that's a tough tan line. That's not the sunglasses tan line. You got a mask.
Well, how do you combat that? Do you have to wear one of those huge hats, too?
I'm not sure.
Which I would think. I mean, he didn't have anybody sitting directly behind him, but that would kind of be rude to wear.
I would think so.
In this setting. But, look, you got to do what you got to do to stop that tan line.
Good pitch, and he struck him out. First out recorded by Giovanni Gallegos.
Did a good job of staying on this breaking ball. We've seen him kind of pull across a couple, and they've been spinning and flat. This one, good 12-6. So not exactly the jam you want to find yourself in, and at 20 pitches already, I don't know how much room he's going to have to work out of this, but you do like to see him bear down the situation, maybe get a little ground ball right here.
Here's Jones. Ooh, up and in, almost caught him. That would have tied the game up. The 1-0 pitch with the bases loaded and one down here in the top of the 8th. There's your ground ball. Can they turn two? Slowly hit the turn, and he got him. A double play, 4-6-3. He had the bases loaded, nobody out. He gets a strikeout and the ground ball double play. 4-3 Cardinals. Heard about, and they're all about your favorite Cardinals. You'll get them with a subscription or calling 345-9000. Bob Gibson on the current Cardinals magazine. Cardinals.com/magazine. They do a great job. Steve Zesh and his crew. Make sure you subscribe and do yourself a favor. Learn all about the Cardinals behind the scenes. Look at the Cardinals. It's Cardinals.com/magazine. Andre Scrub. 6'4", 270 out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Just kind of seems like a guy I don't want to mess with. Fort Bragg, North Carolina, 6'4", 270. I don't want to mess with that.
No, look, I'll probably walk the other way.
Yeah. Cody Whitley throwing for the Cardinals. Good job by Giovanni Gallegos. That was when Giovanni made the impression for me, a positive one, obviously. How many times he came in with the bases loaded? Remember that when he started to establish himself with the Cardinals of getting out of bases loaded situations and bases loaded, nobody out. Did it a couple of times and was able to do that, and he just did it again.
Yeah, he did for sure, and made adjustments in the inning. That's kind of what it's all about. He was flat a few times with the breaking ball, left some fastballs up there that didn't have a lot of life on them, but he was able to bear down, get the punch out, get the ground ball. Got to like that. By the way, it was a nice turn because that ball was not hit very hard, slow developing play. So, again, the defense steps up for the Cardinals in a big spot.
This is Rondon. Cardinals picked him up in the offseason, looking for some depth in the minor leagues. He's got a little power, hit a 3-run homer the other day. Can play all over the infield.
Got a couple triples during this camp as well.
Nothing in 2 the count, so he's made an impression. One ball and 2 strikes.
The impression thing is going to be big as well, and the hope is that early in the season you're not going to have a bunch of need, but the alternate site is going to be very close. I mean, the Cardinals will have their alternate camp in Sauget, the home of the Grizzlies, so it'll be right down the street. Going to have a lot of guys there getting the work in. It'll be interesting to see kind of what that looks like.
Waits on the 2-2, lined out to right. Here's Nolan Gorman.
Going back to the idea of impressions, right? Got the young kid, Nolan Gorman. Everybody's clamoring to see him. Still hasn't played above A ball, but these are the type of situations that he gets himself a chance to kind of show out in front of the big league staff.
Big curveball there to Nolan. Been playing some second base during this camp. Really has looked comfortable down at third.
He just looks the part overall, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Changeup and a good one by Scrub, 0-2. So you've got the alternate site over in Sauget, and they're having an extended minor league camp, if you will, for spring training. And the 0-2 pitch. Got him on 3 pitches. So that's it for Nolan Gorman. Scrub the strikeout, and there's 2 away.
Pretty good breaking ball right there by Scrub. 8th inning, middle of spring training. Why not? Yadier Molina still in there. Get another at bat.
The 0-1 pitch to Yadi. He's got a 2-run homer tonight. The Cardinals a pair of 2-run homers. Tyler O'Neill, 2-run homer in the 4th, and a 2-run homer by Molina in the 6th. That secondary alternate camp will be overseen with the AAA staff, and Emily Wiebe will help oversee that, which is great to see that. The Cardinals are having Emily be a huge part of that. Good curveball again. You know, they've had a situation where a female presence would have been in the minor leagues as a coach and what they do in the past prior to not having a minor league season. And Mike Schilt even did this. There's that curveball again, where they have a coach go down in the minor leagues at a level, and one day they may work with the pitchers and dress out there and work out with the pitchers and see how they're doing things on the side. Or one day it's with the infielders or the hitting coach or working on the scouting aspect of things. But Emily Wiebe will be a part of that. And there's a curveball, and it catches Yadi, and he strikes out. So love to see that from the St. Louis Cardinals and John Mozeliak. Cody Whitley coming on to try to finish this one off when we come back. Come your way at noon. St. Louis time when the Cardinals face the Nationals. Cardinals baseball back on Fox Sports Midwest. And it's brought to you by Mid-America Chevy. Here's Cody Whitley. Made the great jump in the minor leagues 2 years ago, and then we saw him jump right to the big leagues. An impressive young man.
Yeah, I remember being in spring training last year early on, and he was one of the biggest talks at camp, wasn't he? I mean, it was Cody Whitley and Johan Oviedo from a pitching standpoint that everybody said, you gotta take a look at these 2 individuals.
So Cody Whitley, first pitch a strike, the 0-1. There's a really good changeup. Boy, that was nasty right there.
Well, especially the way that he throws it, right? Kind of arches the back a little bit, hides the ball really well. Great arm speed on the changeup.
The 0-2 pitch. You know, one of the things that John Mozeliak is excited about is not only depth with his pitching. I mean, he's got arms. He's got young arms that need development. He's got guys that he can choose to be from his bullpen that maybe because of injuries like Michaelis can be inserted into the rotation. But, you know, he's talked about the fact that with the location with the Gateway Club and having that location basically across the river and how important that is, that if they have to dip into that and location, hear it all the time, how important that is to be able to have that facility as Sosa makes the play. He's excited about that, and I think it's really, really awesome that they're going to have Emily Wiebe a part of that with the AAA staff. Bernard Gilkey will be a part of that as well, the former Cardinal. So it's great to get him back integrated. Before with all the shutdowns and things, you know, was just tough. There was just not the work there. I mean, you didn't have a minor league season. So there's only so much you could do at the alternate site, and things are going to start opening back up when we get the AAA season and AA and Single A and all these things getting back going. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
Good changeup again by Cody Whitley.
Yeah, that was kind of part of it last year, too. Dan, I know you do the same thing. While we dig into the Cardinals and the team that's right in front of us, checking in on the minor leagues, seeing how everybody's doing, watching some of the prospects that just got drafted and what trajectory they're on, you know, who's on fire, who's taking a little bit longer. All that stuff is fun. I know we have a lot of Cardinal fans, too, that make the trip, that go to Springfield or go to Peoria to watch some of these games, whether it be a young prospect that you got to get your eyes on, or maybe it's a big leaguer that's doing a rehab somewhere. I mean, but they're paying attention, right, and want to be able to get the opportunity to go to these again.
0-2 the count. And the next pitch by Whitley. Good changeup again, and he struck him out. So there's 2 outs with nobody on, and Cody Whitley looks sharp.
He looks really good. We're talking about the way that he hides the ball, really from the hitter's perspective. I mean, this thing looks like it's coming straight out from behind his head quickly. And the arm speed looks exactly the same as the fastball. The release point is right there. That's the key with it. With the changeup, while it's going to be slower than the fastball, your arm has to be just as quick. Let the grip do the work. That was one of the things that they liked about him so much last year, too, is the fact that he's aggressive. Just goes right after the opposition. We're seeing it here.
1 ball and 1 strike. 8 strikes out of his 10 pitches so far. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And the 1-2 taken high.
Seen a couple of good fastballs, the one above the zone. Maybe a little change up here.
How about that? Cody Whitley got him with the changeup, another strikeout, and the Cardinals pick up a 4-3 win. St. Louis now 3-4-3 in spring training. Mike Schilt picks up the victory for the Cardinals.
Well pitched game. Adam Wainwright 4 strong. A couple of home runs off the bat of Tyler O'Neill and Yadier Molina, and they locked this thing down. That changeup nasty from Cody Whitley. Good team win.
We'll be back to wrap things up in just a moment. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest.